Okay, hello, my name is Sean Dixon, and I want to propose a class for your students in which we ask them 3 questions. Who are you? What are you great at? And what is your purpose? And I'm saying that now because if we went across your campus now and said, okay, we interviewed your students, what type of answers are they going to give? And are those answers, will those answers best represent your institution and what you're trying to give them? For the first question, who you are. This started off with the premise that people say, my life is an open book. My life is an open book. And it's like, if it is, well, how many chapters would it have? What's the name of each chapter? What's the theme of each chapter? What lessons did you learn from that chapter? And why don't we know this? I mean, if we say we're an open book, a book has a form that we should follow. And what I did, for me personally, I said, what if I took my life and I turned it into a book and I said, it's gonna have 26 chapters, A through Z. And why A through Z? Because I gotta remember them. Like, I gotta remember, if I have a book of my life, I gotta be able to recall what my life has been. So I took my life, starting at 8 years old, and I said, I'm gonna put my life together as a book, and each, it's gonna have different stories of things that happened in my life that kind of pretty much define who I am. So chapter A is Armadillo Man. It's an idea for a toy I had when I was a kid. Chapter B is Before You Give Up. It's about an oratorical contest I entered, and I was terrified to do it, but I wanted to win a beautiful watch, so that's why I did it. C was about my senior year, in which we did a comedy routine for the whole school, and it's a comedy routine that I wrote. So it's the lessons I learned through those experiences, and that's basically who defines who I am. My life from A to Z. So if you ask me who I am, it's like, well, I'm a book of 26 chapters. What do you want to know about me? You want to know about chapter J, chapter K, chapter S. Just pick a chapter, and that's how you know who I am. So I can take you through my entire life and basically give you an idea of who I am as a person, because I've broken my life down into 26 chapters, and that's just to the age of 45. And then I can add on to that. But that basically lets me know who I am and helps me examine who I am, because I'm constantly going back and looking at it and I'm like, oh wow, with a new perspective, and is my life still consistent to who I am and who I want to be? Is my life a story that I am impressed with? And you can learn a lot about yourself. You're like, oh, am I a narcissist? Is it all about me? Am I a victim? Am I just trying to be average? Am I trying to go along and get along? So you can learn a lot about yourself by doing a book from A to Z. So I want to help your students start a book. We couldn't finish it because there's a lot of information, but at least we could start on the first 3 chapters. And it's up to your students. Like, your students would have to be curious and creative enough in order to find the right letters to fit the right situation. And, but that's how the book works. 26 chapters, A through Z. And part of my thinking was A through Z is that it would line you up with other people. So if I have a book of 26 chapters, A to Z, then someone else would, and we could have a conversation. Oh, what was your J? What was your K? What was your M chapter? And then you could tell me about yourself. So there's a reference point where I can ask you certain questions, and you could tell me more about your life. Just imagine being in an interview and someone can ask you, hey, tell me about a certain part of your life, and you can just go random. So now you know who you are and what defines who you are. And you have it in a way that has a form and a fashion that works. And you can refer back to. So who am I? I am a book from A to Z. If you want to know more about me, pick a letter and I'll tell you. What are you great at? What do you do better than anyone else in the world? That's another question I began to ask myself. I said, I got a degree, but what do I really know? What knowledge what world-class knowledge did I have? So what I did, I started when I was always a person who liked reading books. But I'd read a book and I'd get all this great information. I was like, well, but I couldn't retain it. And I developed a method called ARC. Acronym: Read, Remember, Recall, Knowledge. So when I read a book, and I'll start with the Bible. I started with the Bible and I said, how would I summarize the entire book of Genesis? So I said, okay, I started with a theme of the first, how the book starts. The book starts with the theme of creation. So I took the word creation and I turned it into an acronym. So, of course, chapter 1 is creation. The other ones, or the next chapter is ribs. Ribs from Adam to create Eve. Responsibility to take care of the garden. And restrictions, you can't eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So that's next. Then Eve, they eat the fruit, and then they have to exit. They're exiled from Eden. And then I can go through the entire book of Genesis using themes. So I use creation to get me through the first 9 chapters, and then next it was rainbow, Hagar, Sarah, Jacob, Joseph, Israel. And then Joseph, dreams, and then Israel, and I dropped the L at the end. So those are the words that help me summarize the entire book. So I can tell you what I learned from each chapter. You can do it with any book. And it doesn't have to be the theme. It could be the author's name. It could be the title of the book. I'm reading Steve Jobs' book by Walter Isaacson. I used the first chapter of the book was his childhood, which to get me through the first 9 chapters of that book. It got me through the first 9 chapters, and then next chapter 10 was the Mac is born. I dropped the THE, and I go Mac is born. So each letter is what I use to summarize it. In other words, for the chapter 1 childhood, see, his dad was in the Coast Guard. His dad made cabinets, and the cabinets, the front of the cabinets had to be as nice as the back of the cabinets that face the wall. And that's, of course, what he's thinking. He went to Homestead High, where him and Wozniak met. Their first piece of hardwood was a thing called a blue box that allowed them to make phone calls. CHI, he went to Reed College, where he was involved. He got heavily into drugs, dropping acid, Dylan, and Zen meditation. So I can go through the entire, so the goal is to be able to go through 42 chapters of the book, being able to summarize what I learned from each chapter. So that's what the art. How many people can do that? You think of all of the people and all of the books they read, how many people can remember what they recall? And I equate this, if you had that knowledge, you can go in any room in the world and people start talking about books and you're like, yeah, what chapter you want to go to? Did you read the book? Yeah. What'd you get from it? Oh, well, from chapter 1, I got this. From chapter 2, I got this. Chapter 3, 4, I got this. And each, you break it down like that, people are going to know. No one can compete with you. I equated to jiu-jitsu in the 90s, in the 80s and 90s. When jiu-jitsu first came on the scene, nobody knew how to handle it. It was so different. It was just next level. No one could compete with you. So you can read 50 books if you want to. I'm going to read 5 books on a particular subject, and I'm going to be able to summarize what I read from each one of those chapters. So if you've got 50 books you read, if I read 5 books, I've probably got 100 lessons I've learned from those 5 books. Each book has 10, 20, maybe 30 chapters. I've got all that information on a particular subject, whether it's business, finance, history, law, whatever it is. Whatever area you want to go into, you're going to have, for every chapter, you're going to have a piece of knowledge from that chapter. So a book has 20 chapters, you're going to have at least 20 things you learn from that book that you can remember and recall. So that's what you can be great at. And if you can do that, let's be honest, how many people can do that? It will put you on the next level. I imagine your students in a meeting, sitting in someone's office, and you look and it's a book. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Oh, you read that book? Yeah. What was your favorite part? And the person behind the desk says, oh, what was your favorite part? Trying to test you. Like, oh, did you really read the book? Oh, well, chapter 1, it says, don't argue. Don't correct people in public. That's what I learned from second one, ask questions as opposed to arguing with people. Chapter 3, let it be known. And if you notice, I'm using Dale Carnegie's name to remember the D-A-L-E. Each letter reminds me of what I learned from each chapter. There are 13 principles in Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. There are 13 letters in his name. So that's what I do. So I know all of Dale Carnegie's principles on how to win friends and influence people, not because I have a photographic memory. It's because I use his name as an acronym to help me remember and recall. So how many people can do that? And if your students could do that, that would take their knowledge to a whole other level. So we're teaching students how to learn on another level. Okay, so that's ARC. And that's the question, what are you great at? The next question is, what is your purpose? What is your purpose? And is that one of the most important questions in life? For that, I use a math equation. 0 plus 0 plus 1 plus 1 equals 0. First 0 is zero expectation. It's not a problem you're looking for. It's not a problem you're looking for. It's not your job. It's not your passion. It's not something you want to do. Zero obligation. It's not a problem you're obligated to solve. You don't have to solve it. It's a problem you can walk away from. It's not your job and your immediate family. It's not anyone you're obligated to. Anyone or anything you're obligated to. You're the one person to solve it. You're in a situation where you're the one person to solve it because you're the only person there, or you're the only person who has the talent and skills to solve the problem. And it's a once-in-a-lifetime problem. In other words, you will only see this problem once. If you don't solve the problem now, it's gone forever. Well, you may say, well, what's wrong with that? The goal is zero regrets. If you don't solve the problem, you're going to have regrets. And you want to live a life of zero regrets. I say the most important zero in life is not zero debt, it's zero regrets. So that's what purpose is about. And what does purpose look like? And I learned this going to the gas station. I went to the gas station one day. I'm in a hurry. I got all this stuff to do. I'm in line. I'm waiting behind someone else. And the person before me, their card is being declined. They tried to get $3 in it, and it still got declined. And the person was walking away dejected, and I say, I got you. And they said, how much, $3? $3? I was like, no, let's do 10. So I put $10 in their tank. And the person was grateful. I was like, yeah, and I did what I do, and I left. And then after, I was thinking, well, what is that? Because if it's passion, I'd be hanging out at the gas station looking to help people. So I said, it's clearly not my passion and passionate wants or practical needs. It's not something I want to do. It's not something I need to do. I just started my own business. I was struggling myself. So it wasn't passion or practical needs or purpose. And you put in the numbers. Zero expectations. It wasn't a problem I'm looking for. Zero obligations. I didn't know him. I didn't owe him. I didn't have to do this for him. I was the one person who could help him because no one else was around to do it. If someone else had stepped up, I would not have had to, but I was the one person who helped him, and helping him represented a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. In other words, I will never get a chance to help that person again. So either I help him now or never. And because I helped him, I can tell the story now with zero regrets. And that's the purpose I want to help teach your students. So who are you? You're a book. You're a book from A to Z. That's who I am. You want to know who I am? I'm a book from A to Z. You can go, and how do you find out who I am? You just ask me questions. You just pick a chapter, and I've got a story for you, and the story tells you who I am, what type of person I really am. What are you great at? What are you great at? Tell me your favorite book. Someone say, Sean, what are you great at? I say, tell me your favorite book. And someone named their favorite book. I said, well, okay, tell me what did you learn from each chapter? I mean, I don't remember. Okay, I do. So for every book I read, I have to remember and recall what I read from each book. Because let's just face it, basically, technically, we kind of all read books, right? It's like, I'm great at reading books. And I call it a curiosity workout. It's my curiosity workout. It's like, how curious are you about the information in the book? And how serious are you about remembering it? So that's where the ARC method comes in. So I'm great when it comes to remembering and recalling knowledge from books. That's what I do. I would say one thing I can do better than anyone else in the world. And it's not because I'm so smart. It's because other people are doing it. Like I said, the jiu-jitsu analogy I gave you earlier. It's not that I'm great at jiu-jitsu, not being great at jiu-jitsu, it's just I know something you don't know. And this is a game changer. And the sooner your students start doing this, the further ahead they're going to get ahead. They're going to get ahead of everyone else who's not doing it yet. So it's just being first in the race. What is your purpose? Zero expectations, zero obligations. You're the one person. I just want to help them identify it. Identify it, because purpose is going to find you. You don't have to look for it. It's going to find you. And when it finds you, I want you to be, you plug in the numbers. I'm in a situation, this is not zero expectation. I wasn't looking for this problem. Zero obligation. I don't have to solve it. I'm the one person who can, because I have to be at the right place at the right time with the tools and talents to solve it. And it's a once in a lifetime problem. So it's not a tomorrow problem or next week problem. You know, it's like, oh, I can get you next time. No, it's a once in a lifetime problem. And then why would I want to solve it? And I need to solve it because I want to have zero regrets. So that's the type of class I want to propose to your students. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, I'd love to sit down and talk with you.